The Epstein files reveal the largest genocide in human history, and it is being hidden from your eyes. 8 million children go missing every single year. Look at all these people with black eyes. Politicians, your famous actors, the Pope, high-level people. They all participate. This is an email from the Epstein files. All you need is a blood transfusion from the pack and you reverse aging. Adrenochrome is the molecule created in adrenalized blood, meaning when your adrenaline is high, when you have fear, right? That's why when little kids are tortured, they have more adrenaline in their blood, and then they and drink it. It gives them a high. It also makes their skin look younger. And I've known about this for quite some time. There are whistleblowers who came out who have been trafficked who talk about this. It's known, but now the Epstein files just prove that. See all these celebrities with black eyes? That's not by accident. That's because before they do you know what to the kids, they have to get punched in the eye as a humiliation ritual. It goes even deeper than that. You see, the reason these people have so much power and influence is because when you do ritualistic magic with a child, that child is closest to God, the spirit world, so it creates universal energy. When you kill a child, it creates energy in the spirit world. They're utilizing that energy for whatever they want in the world. They're actually taking that ritualistically. It's magic. It goes back to the Aztec and Mayan civilizations. Yes, these people are sick, demented in the head, but it's also way deeper than you can even comprehend. They're targeting children because they're powerless and they're closest to God. We need to stop this. We need to save the children. And guess what? Even all of these Epstein files released, I guarantee nothing's going to happen. None of those people will be prosecuted, right? Because they have the power, right? They're the ones doing ritualistic magic. They're the ones with the highest levels of power, wealth, influence in the world. We need to put an end to this. It is up to us. It's in our hands.
Hi, Steve here. The world as we know it is shifting. Power structures are consolidating. Freedom is narrowing. Truth is becoming negotiable. And the New Testament, written in Aramaic, warned that this would happen. Not as politics, not as coincidence, but as spiritual orchestration. The question is not if change is coming. The question is, will you recognize it when it does?
The 9/11 thing was like a paradigm shift for you, which of course it was for a whole lot of people. I personally bought it hook, line, and sinker. I was one of these people that was sucked in, admittedly. Now that I'm not, obviously, it's kind of like our duty to do what we're doing. I can't imagine doing anything else in life right now in times like these, but looking back at 9/11, seeing where we are now, do you predict a cataclysmic event like that, another 9/11, or maybe even bigger happening?
This is going to be a huge year. Like they've got to do something to stop the awakening. I think they do these resets all the time, and I think it gets to a point where they know as the population is growing, and there's only so long you can hold the illusion together. The new children that come up, okay, they're waking up and they're freaking out at society, so we call them ADHD and we drug them. But then the next generation are a little bit more awake, and then that's why it's suddenly it's the boomers and it's this and that, and then suddenly it's Generation X and Generation Y and Generation Z, because these are the last 3 generations before they need to do a reset. They need a major event to wipe out this rising consciousness that's happening. And everything we're seeing at the moment, like they want you to see the corruption. The release of the Epstein files, this isn't a mistake. Finding out the world is run by basically pedivores, child-eating, demonic worshipping, Baal worshipping, like the most evil thing. You can't even comprehend how evil it really is. And they want you to see that because they're counting on the people doing nothing.
Judaism is at the center of everything that Jeffrey Epstein was doing.
Well, these people, it's like the star isn't a Star of David. There is no such thing as a Star of David. It's a Star of Remphan, a Star of Moloch, the Star of Baal. If you go to Baalbek, the temple built to worship Baal in Lebanon, there's a Star of David there on the wall. It's the Star of Baal, the Star of Molech. And Molech is about child sacrifice. And the thing is, like with Epstein, there's this whole disinformation thing saying, he had nothing to do with Israel, he had nothing to do with us, and rah, rah, rah. And look, he's got a mosque on his island. He's a Russian agent, a Muslim Russian agent, right? And I wouldn't be surprised if they even built that little mosque and put the dome on top so that if everything ever came undone, they've got plausible deniability.
Yes.
But the thing is, there's this whole concept that Epstein was this kingpin who was blackmailing everybody. No, he was a gopher. All of these people, you don't need to have blackmail evidence on these people. They love what they do. They love filming it, and they share their videos with each other.
Or sometimes do they not know that they're being filmed, but they just love doing what they do? This is their fetish. Donald Trump was best friends with Jeffrey Epstein. When you're best friends with somebody, it's because you share a common interest.
Exactly.
And that common interest, obviously, we know what Jeffrey Epstein was doing. We can read through the emails. He's mentioned 38,000 times in these files, but you have people like Alex Jones saying, well, everybody else is guilty except for when it comes to Trump. Then it's a Democrat hoax. How do you separate the two?
Yeah, it's crazy. Like, there's such a disinformation campaign. The thing is, like, there'd be lower level politicians that they brought in and got dirt on, for sure. You know, but the main core of it is people like Trump, people like Dershowitz, people like Benjamin Netanyahu, the big high elites, the Rothschilds, Prince Andrews, who just love torturing, raping, killing. That's saying one of the most prolific pedophiles in all of America is Ellen DeGeneres. Mossad is every government on earth. They're all connected. It's the same thing. Mossad, CIA, NSA, the government of France, government of Spain, government of anywhere. They're all connected.
They're all controlled by Rothschild-owned central banks.
Exactly.
And when you're not, you become Venezuela, you become Bashar al-Assad, you become Muammar Gaddafi, you become Adolf Hitler, you become Saddam Hussein. They will come for you, they will jail you, they will kill you, they will take your country, and then they will install the central banks, and the private equity firms will come rushing in there. BlackRock, we saw what happened in Ukraine. They now own the rights to all of the precious metals and mineral deposits there. They did the same thing right here. Well, we're in Mexico now, but in America, in Western North Carolina after Hurricane Helene, the lithium deposits, BlackRock's right there. The Panama Canal, BlackRock's right there.
Yeah.
And
everywhere. And even with, I had someone say to me the other day, you people are saying that all these people are dying in Ukraine. How come the population is growing? So because there's so many Jews that are moving to Ukraine and buying up all the land. Now, this is all designed.
Do you think that's New Khazaria? Do you think, the map of Greater Israel continues to expand and now includes some of these portions of Ukraine that are highly contested?
Yeah. It's all, they want to expand east and south and north, and they want Greater Israel. That's what they want to do.
The Zoomer generation, how important are the Zoomers?
Massively important. And that's one of the reasons why they've released all this stuff. Like, we're seeing so much, the whole veil is falling down, the apocalypse, the great revealing. You know, but what they're counting on is that people aren't going to do anything. They're going to look to the government. They're going to want to press charges against someone because they think the system is real.
Right.
This is an opportunity for people to realize it's a fiction. You're living in a people farm. I've been telling people this for 20 years. You're living in a people farm.
The Matrix.
They are harvesting children. The Matrix is your belief that the system is real. You know, you've just found out that the world is run by pedophiles. What, you're going to go to their legal system and their police force and say, please fix this problem?
Yeah.
No, you have to fix it by simply disconnecting from that. Connecting with this, connecting with the community. Mm-hmm. We have the power. This whole system only functions because we believe the system is real.
And the problem is because Charlie Kirk was on campus, he was, impacting the thoughts and, the lives of millions of Zoomers, college age, young Americans who represent the political future, the spiritual future, the physical future of America. And, these people hanged on his every word. And so because he was so impactful and he was having this awakening, he took off his wedding ring. He was in an argument with Erica Kirk. There's a picture that's missing of their wedding day from behind where he used to sit. Now it's been replaced by the scrolls of the Talmud. It's just insane. But they were apparently arguing the night before. He slept in his daughter's bedroom. So there were problems on Front Street, and there were problems very publicly as Charlie Kirk was in these struggle sessions. Bill Ackman's mansion in the Hamptons. Benjamin Netanyahu phoned in, offered him $150 million. They couldn't bring him back onto the plantation, onto the reservation. He had gone rogue, and he was talking about this multifaceted occupation throughout our entire society. It's in our politics, it's in our media, it's in our entertainment, it's in Hollywood, it's in our institutions of learning, it's in academia, it's in big pharma, it's everywhere.
Absolutely.
And he was naming all of this and said that he was going to be forced to leave the pro-Israel cause. I think that because of the importance of Zoomers, and because he said that he was going to go ballistic on Trump over Epstein and wars, he was going to expose this to a lot of people. And now there's this massive effort through Turning Point USA high school chapters where they have access to young people, military recruiting stations right outside your Turning Point event, so you can be all charged up on the propaganda and walk right out and enlist to go fight and die in these forever wars that do nothing to benefit our national security or economic interests, but do everything to benefit Israel and the Holocaust hustlers.
Yeah, it's all about, sacrifice, brother. Sacrifice, human sacrifice, decreasing the population. I mean, the whole earth, like all of these wars are about depopulation. Put on your satanic rituals, put on your little braids and your little 5-pointed stars and dress up with all your occult symbolism and go out there and kill people you've never met before and don't have any problem with. All the wars are about depopulation and destroying the old world, destroying any trace of anything. While the Jews just keep breeding, and they're the ones who manufacture all the wars. But all of them are about sacrifice. All of them. That's all they're about. That's all they've ever been about. There's no reason for us to be living in a feudal society. This whole system has been made up. And it doesn't matter what country you go to, you find good people there who don't have a problem with you. Nobody wants to go and have wars. It's the governments all the time saying, hey, the guys over there don't like you, so you need to go and kill them.
Wedge issues.
But put on all these symbolism before you do.
Fight horizontally.
Exactly.
To keep your minds off of looking vertically.
Exactly.
They would love a civil war because it gives them the pretext that they need to launch the super surveillance state to usher in Palantir, because Americans will beg for it, just like they begged for the Patriot Act after 9/11 when 2 planes knocked down 3 buildings and then somebody pulled off some unbelievable maneuvers to go into the Pentagon. Complete BS. Total BS.
But we're in a position now where we have, like, the Zoomers and all these people see what is going on and they want some guidance. They want to stand up. How can you respect the legal system, the politicians, the media? How can you respect any of these people now? You know what has been revealed and understand that this is our moment. From this moment, now that this is all in our face, we have 2 options. We either die or we grow.
Something that you said that'll always resonate with me is look evil directly in the face and never flinch.
Exactly.
Never flinch.
Face infinity without flinching. You get to a situation where you are in a situation where this could go an infinite direction, an infinite amount of directions. You just take that in your stride and you don't flinch and you just keep on the path. When Charlie Kirk died and they tried to say this is like a Muslim terrorist or it's an anti-gay rights, whatever, you know.
Yeah, he was really fed up with Charlie's...
They just saw through it. And all the stuff they did, and why is the crime scene being cleared up? And all this stuff Erica said and did, and like she's out there like partying after the event and suddenly she's at the top and like suddenly Ben Shapiro's taking over the show and they're seeing all this and they're just going, no, we don't buy it. We don't buy any of this. You know, and they see straight through it. Like, I'm really impressed with the intelligence of the Zoomer population, which is why they are pushing things so desperately. And I think that's why they've thrown everything in your face now so you can see it.
Stand up. What does that look like to stand up?
Non-compliance. The system is a fiction. They say what you resist persists. For me, the system doesn't exist.
It's so amazing when you travel that you can see, like what you were kind of highlighting is that, no, these people don't hate us. Mexicans don't want war with the United States.
No. Money is what they use to control us. They don't care about money. They don't need money. They print money. They got an unlimited supply of money. Money is something that they create. Money is created to put you in scarcity. Yeah. Because you got to pay to be alive.
Enslave you.
That's what it's for. And every time it's currency, current. It's a talisman for control. Every time we do a transaction, that little current goes back to them. It's like loosh energy that they're harvesting.
It's a high interest promissory note.
Exactly, you know. And so that's all money is. I mean, people think they do this for money. No, they don't. Money is there for you.
The Aramaic New Testament makes something unmistakably clear. This is not a human war. As written in Ephesians 6:12, for our struggle is not with flesh and blood, but with principalities and with authorities and with the possessors of this dark world and with evil spirits under heaven. The phrase possessors of this dark world reveals control, influence, spiritual governance over systems. This means what we see on the surface is not the root. Behind political shifts, behind cultural revolutions, behind global realignment, there is a spiritual hierarchy. Listen carefully to how the Messiah describes Satan in the Aramaic text. In John 12:31, now is the judgment of this world. Now the ruler of this world is cast out. In John 14:30, the ruler of this world is coming, and he has nothing in me. And in John 16:11, concerning judgment, because the ruler of this world is judged. The Aramaic phrase translated ruler indicates authority over a system, not ownership of creation, but governance over the present world order. Paul confirms this in 2 Corinthians 4:4. For the God of this world has blinded the minds of those who do not believe. Blinded, not forced, blinded. Control does not require chains. It requires deception. The book of Revelation, originally written in a Semitic thought world, describes a unified global structure emerging. In Revelation 13:7, and authority was given to him over every tribe and people and tongue and nation. Not partial control, global reach. And in Revelation 13:16 through 17, and he causes all, small and great, rich and poor, free and slave, to receive a mark on their right hand or on their forehead. And no man could buy or sell except the one who has the mark. Control of commerce, control of participation, control of survival. This is not merely symbolic language. It describes economic centralization tied to allegiance. What's the spirit behind it? The Aramaic New Testament repeatedly speaks of deception as the primary weapon. 2 Thessalonians chapter 2, verses 3 and 4. Let no man deceive you in any way, because the day will not come unless the rebellion comes first, and the man of sin is revealed, the son of perdition, who opposes and exalts himself above everything that is called God. And verse 9 and 10, whose coming is by the working of Satan, with all power and signs and false wonders, and with all deception of unrighteousness. Power, signs, wonders, deception, not chaos, organized influence. And then this chilling phrase in Revelation 12:9. That ancient serpent who is called the devil and Satan, who deceives the whole inhabited world. The whole inhabited world. That is global scale deception. Look at what the Messiah said in Matthew 24, verses 4 and 5. Take heed that no one deceives you, for many will come in my name and will deceive many. And verse 24, false messiahs and false prophets will arise and give great signs and wonders, so as to deceive, if possible, even the chosen. Even the chosen. This is not merely about unbelievers. This is about believers who are not grounded. And then in Luke 21:26, men fainting from fear and expectation of the things that are coming upon the earth. Fear will dominate. Confusion will dominate. Stability will collapse. Revelation 17:12 through 13 speaks of 10 kings who receive authority, and they have one mind and give their power and authority to the beast. Unified governance, voluntary consolidation, one mind. The Aramaic mindset reflects unity of will, coordinated agenda. This resembles what many call a new world order, but Scripture frames it spiritually, not a political party, a prophetic system. How does cooperation happen? Through compromise, through silence, through spiritual apathy. In Romans 12:2, the Aramaic says, and do not be conformed to this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. The word for conformed implies being molded by external pressure. Systemic influence reshapes thinking. And 1 Timothy 4:1 warns, the Spirit clearly says that in the latter times some will depart from the faith and will go after deceiving spirits and doctrines of demons. Not atheism, doctrines of demons. Do you know what doctrines of demons really are? It's a multifaceted assault on truth, leveraging spiritual deception, economic coercion, and geopolitical manipulation. Its modern iterations, from abortion to vaccine idolatry, reveal a consistent pattern: the exaltation of human autonomy over divine law. As ancient paths are obscured by traditions of men, the call to stand firm against these doctrines grows ever more urgent. And then there's spiritualized deception. The system rises, but it does not win. In Colossians 2:15, in the Aramaic, it says, "And he stripped the principalities and authorities and made a spectacle of them openly." Their defeat is already sealed. And in Revelation 19:16, it says, "And on his garment and on his thigh was written, King of Kings and Lord of Lords." The final authority is not Satan. It is the Messiah. In Revelation 20:10, it says, "And the devil was cast into the lake of fire." The New World Order has an expiration date. The world may centralize, power may consolidate, commerce may be controlled, truth may be distorted, but deception only succeeds where discernment is absent. As 1 Peter 5:8 says, "Be watchful and awake, because your adversary, the devil, walks like a roaring lion." James 4:7 says, "Submit yourselves to God. Resist the devil, and he will flee from you." The real question is not, is the global shift coming? The real question is, are you spiritually prepared? Because prophecy is not given to create fear. It's given to create readiness. Stay awake. Stay grounded. Stay discerning. Because what is forming in the natural has always been rooted in the spiritual. And those who understand the times will not be shaken. Think about it.
Humanity is like laser focused on the Epstein files. What's your take?
Oh, mate, where to begin? We've been kind of theorizing a little bit over the last few days, like why would they release, not all of it or anywhere near all of it, but why would they release this stuff?
Still 6 million files. It's that number again. It always just keeps popping up.
But there's lots of theories, and I'm thinking like they can all be true at the same time. But one I'm wondering at the minute is whether it's a test, whether it's a way of them basically saying, look, this is what we've been up to. This is what goes on. What are you going to do about it? And if we fail that test as humanity by not doing anything about it, then essentially we've kind of almost signed a deal with the devil. We've accepted that this is the reality. Like, I think everything is transactional. So it's like they're saying, okay, here's the offer, right? The offer is you give us all your money. We spend that money on bombs. We blow people up. We blow you up if you're unlucky. And all the time that's going on, we're going to be having sex with kids and you're not going to do anything about it. And so if we do nothing about it and we carry on and let this kind of fade away and be distracted by something else, that's humanity's way of almost going, okay,
so what's the remedy then? I mean,
well, at the minute, in the short term, is just to not let up. That's my one concern, that they will throw distractions out there that then people suddenly, it gets to a point where people, oh man, he's still talking about the Epstein files, man. Do you know what I mean? And so it's allowed to fade away.
Yeah, Trump said, I don't even want your support if you're going to talk about this Democrat hoax.
Well, that's the incredible thing, isn't it? Is how it can go from being on Pam Bondi's desk to not existing, to existing again but being a Democrat hoax, to now suddenly being out there. And you're like, as a Trump supporter, how do you square that circle? I'm very confused about how people are still defending Donald Trump. And this isn't coming from someone who's a Democrat. Like, I despise both those sides equally. You know, and we used to know that. That's what throws me, Stu, is that we used to know that it didn't matter who you voted for, the government got in, and it's a one-party state, and suddenly we've kind of gone back to this left-right paradigm where if we get the other party out of power, then everything will be better, and that's
the whole idea, because if they have the two-party system, obviously, automatically, you keep people fighting horizontally back and forth with one another rather than looking vertically at the source of all of the issues that we're facing, including the fact that these people are literally having sex with our kids, eating our kids, cannibalizing our kids, torturing them, sacrificing them. There is some really dark and dirty stuff that's included in these Epstein files. And I'm sorry, but when you're best friends with somebody, it's because you share a common interest. Look at this guy. It's because you share a common interest with them. That's why you're best friends. I personally don't think that he's dead.
I'm not convinced either, mate.
Yeah, especially after the things that I've seen. What do you make of the Ghislaine Maxwell pictures, the side-by-sides?
Yeah, see, it's another one of those things, isn't it, where they always tell us, they always show us. Like, before we went live, we were talking about the fact that you've got Lindsey Graham in Israel again, saying he's there every 2 weeks, even if he needs to be or not, saying this is where all the wars of the future are planned. And you think to yourself, why would they tell you that? You've got the American ambassador for Belgium, who's now kicking off because Belgium are prosecuting 3 rabbis because they're still carrying out the old school circumcision where they, circumcise the baby and then they suck the blood. You've got the American ambassador out there outraged, saying that this is anti-Semitism and that America needs to get involved to stop this happening. I wonder if that's part of it, like I said about with the Epstein stuff, whether that's part of the contract. It's like they tell us, we do nothing about it, that gives them consent, they carry on to the next step.
We learned that elections were fake and rigged and stolen, and I think all of that, for people who have known that for a really long time, it was all put on display on January 6th.
Yeah.
And everybody saw that these things are installations, they're rigged, and as people look into it, like, well, who's rigging it? And where are these people getting their money from? And how are they propped up? And they're using the media apparatus and social media, and all the same people control these platforms where they can push somebody to prominence. And then they have Selection A, where if this person gets elected, they win. Selection B, if that person gets elected, they win. And so they keep us arguing back and forth. And you're right. I thought that we had accepted the fact that we understand that there is a uniparty control system here and that this is a 2-class system where you have the people who are, poisoning us, ruling over us, giving us the satanic propaganda at, in Hollywood and at concerts and in the music industry and in our institutions of learning and throughout our government and all of its bureaucracies. In America, that is, and I think that a lot of this is the same. You have people in the UK on your side of the pond going to prison for tweets. How far can a people be pushed before there is some sort of action? Well, on January 6th, that was action. People were petitioning their government to redress their grievances, and they ended up being crushed and murdered, and then later found at their homes and dragged out in front of their families at gunpoint with laser dots on their children, and they ruined people's lives and they took their homes. They lost to foreclosure and they've lost relationships and marriages and they've lost their children over this kind of thing. And that was to set an example. If you come against us, we will crush you. Do you think that's why? I mean, I cannot imagine a nation learning that its leadership class is on tape doing unthinkable things with children or associating with. And don't give me this crap about Donald Trump being an informant. You become an informant when you're engaged in the activity. And so, totally fact. To think that the country is not on fire, knowing that our political class, that our ruling overlords are on tape doing unthinkable things with kids, what's it going to take at this point? I mean, when do the pitchforks come out?
Well, this is the thing, and this is another part that I wonder, because they seem to be one step ahead at all times. I wonder if they want the pitchforks. I wonder if they want the riots. We saw this in the UK with the Southport riots. So you had this guy. Axel.
Were they really riots?
Well, they were made to look like them in terms of the media. But I get what you're saying, Stu. It wasn't anything like it was reported. But there were bits of civil unrest that were completely orchestrated on both sides. So for instance, you had, people out there saying stuff that wasn't true on one side, and then on the other side, you had organizations like Hope Not Hate. They had a guy called Nick Lowles who went out and on social media said that white supremacists were throwing acid in the faces of Muslim women. This never happened. And
didn't that just happen at an Ilhan Omar press conference too? Was that a white supremacist that threw something toxic in her face, or was that staged and fake and gay, just like everything else? Everything is fake and gay.
But what happened with that was the police came out immediately and said, no, this never happened. Like, no one's thrown acid in anyone's face. Like, this is not true. But before they had the chance to get out there and get it, the Muslim men had taken to the streets in reaction to them having their women, acided, which never happened, and that created this friction between the two. And then what happened is the police moved in and arrested, countless people. And so it's sort of like you've got three groups of people. They kind of want you sat on the sofa watching a TV doing nothing, going, well, what can I do about it? Watching Bargain Hunt or whatever. And they also want you out throwing a rock at a copper, because if you're throwing a rock at a copper or a Molotov cocktail, they can bring the army in.
But they don't.
No.
Because if you remember George Floyd,
well, it depends what's
they
died.
had Molotov cocktails, and they were literally about to set ablaze an occupied police precinct with human beings inside, with cops inside, and all of their weapons and all of the files and all of the evidence and body armor and all of these things. They had snipers on the roof, and obviously if one of them would have taken a kill shot and put hot lead right between the eyes of one of these people that was presenting the threat of imminent great bodily harm or death, $12 billion in damage that was inflicted across our country would have never happened, because it would have set the precedent. And when you're talking about people who are having sex with kids, for me, the precedent should be, if you touch our kids, we kill you. I don't think that should be something that's controversial to say. If you touch our kids, if you harm our kids, we kill you. I think that no matter what side of the fake political aisle you are on, no matter how you identify as, even ideologically, spiritually, racially, that should be a hill that humanity would agree that they should die on. And I'm just not seeing the outrage that I had expected. And this is something that we've been asking for a long time, and now it's being downplayed. But Lindsey Graham is in Israel, which, by the way, he has been there more times than he's been to his own congressional district at home in South Carolina. Let that sink in. This is a representative of the people, and I think, it's very obvious the open secrets about Lindsey Graham and who he serves, because he's just, they're saying that, but to say this is the place where all of the wars originate. And if you go back all the way to, every war that we've been in, specifically though, since 1913, our country, and then if you look to 1937 until today, there has not been 1 year that the United States military has not been involved in some sort of a kinetic confrontation, regime change, conflict, intervention, or full-blown war of some sort. Since 1937, there hasn't been 1 year that we haven't had forward deployed young American men in some corner of the earth, fighting in some conflict and risking their lives for a senseless conflict that does nothing to benefit our country.
No, it's insane.
And it all originates there, and now he's saying that out loud. And what was the reaction that you saw online? Because I haven't seen this yet.
Not shock.
It should be outrage.
Yeah, it should be outrage, but not shock, because more and more it's becoming obvious that America is an occupied country, but it's the same with Britain now. Like, Britain's always been occupied, but they were more secretive about it. So
occupied by who?
Occupied by Israel and Israel's interests completely. So many emails were going to Jeffrey Epstein about bombing campaigns, about military operations in places like Pakistan, in terms of foreknowledge, like telling Jeffrey Epstein when Pakistan was going to attack a certain area, when this was going to happen, when that was going to happen. And you're like, this is supposed to just be some guy who kind of networks a little bit, and he traffics kids or whatever. It's so much bigger than that.
Yeah.
In terms of the sway he had, everything, all that military information that was going to him, stuff involving the Taliban and operations that they were doing. That's all going to this guy who's clearly a front for Israel.
He funded the scandemic. He met with Bill Gates and pre-planned a worldwide biowarfare attack on unsuspecting citizens of countries all over the world.